Can you guys see it? Right. Yep. Okay. Okay. Hi. I'm glad to be able to present my presentation virtually from the other side of the globe. So I'm currently in Australia and it's nighttime right now. Okay. So first about myself. I'm attending Trinity Grammar School, which is a high school that's located in Sydney. I'm in year 11 and I'm just about to move into year 12 in a few months. I'm actually pretty new to the field of programming, as I have spent more of my time in visual design art, but I've decided to learn how to program because I've identified a problem that is actually pretty important to me, and realizing that I could be able to solve this problem if I made a virtual app. And I had help from Professor Soon to develop this app, and we managed to do this in about a year. So the problem we've tried to solve is regarding Bushcare, which is a volunteering service in Australia that use both government workers and volunteers to try to preserve the biodiversity of natural vegetation in the local area. So Bushcare have a very high difficulty curve. As one of the most important skill is for a volunteer to be able to distinguish between the native plant from the harmful invasive species from other parts of the world that's made its way into the local area. So the harmful plants needs to be removed by the volunteers by hand, which is pretty time consuming, and it's what the volunteer have to spend most of his time doing. And the skill of being able to recognize the species of plants to remove usually only comes with experience and being able to memorize the different species of plant in the local area. So during the stage when the volunteers would not be able to do this, what they are able to help in the volunteering service is very limited, which could discourage them from continuing the volunteering service altogether. So our solution to this problem is to create a mobile app that would be able to distinguish the different species of plant by letting the user taking a picture of the type of plant they're looking at and allowing the image recognition algorithm to determine what species the plant is and tells the user whether or not this plant needs to be removed. So right now, the greatest challenge within Bushcare is the limited amount of time each volunteer, the volunteers have in each of the location. As there are a large amount of different sites that's under the protection of Bushcare, and the volunteers need to make sure they are able to cycle through all the different sites within a month so that they can take care of all the locations. This means that new volunteers often would not be able to get the attention they need because the more experienced volunteers would have to complete the job they need to do within the time limits. So new volunteers usually only have a very basic understanding of what they need to do and will not be able to get any help in being able to recognize the different species of plant in the area. Another major challenge is the lack of young volunteers in the program. So right now, the vast majority of volunteers doing Bushcare is from an older demographic. So the lack of younger generation makes it hard for Bushcare to tackle some of the more physically demanding tasks, which would limit what the whole program would be able to do to help the environment. The lack of interest from the younger generation is partially caused by the long and tedious learning curve to be able to learn the different species of plants, which not only would discourage new volunteering from joining, but would often like discourage them from continuing even after they have started. So the last challenge is the challenge of learning the skill of recognizing different plants itself. There are a large number of species in the local area. And in the learning stage, volunteer would often feel like they're doing more damage to the environment because they will not be able to know if what they are removing from the environment is actually the native species or the harmful invasive species, which would further discourage them from continuing to volunteer. So a bit about our plant recognition software. There's already a large number of other plant recognition software on the market, but the problem with those are all of them are focused on plant recognition in regards to gardening, which makes them unsuitable for our use in Bushcare. So the gardening softwares would focus on a larger range of plants from all over the world that grows in different climates. But for Bushcare, we only need the app to specialize in the type of plants that grow around the local area that all thrives in the same environment. But a larger problem is the fact that the existing plant recognition software does not provide the suitable information that we need for Bushcare. Those software would provide information about how to take care of the plant and even some more information about the appearance of the plant, but enable for app to be useful for Bushcare. You will need to tell the volunteer whether the plant is invasive or harmful, so the volunteer will know whether they need to remove it or not. So when we created the app, the basic structure of the app was made in Android Studio using the Flutter software development kit. The app right now contains a camera page, a home page, a calendar page, and a profile page. And apart from the app itself, we are using Firebase, which is a service provided by Google, to allow the user to make a personal account with their email, which would allow us to track any feedback they send, and allow them to personalize their account, to set up reminder for the Bushcare session they would wish to attend. And the image recognition algorithm itself was trained using a pre-existing algorithm, and we implemented it into the app to be the main function. Yeah. So some of the component of the app, apart from the image recognition function, we also implemented a few other parts to hopefully motivate more younger volunteers to stay in Bushcare, by improving the experience of not only using the app, but Bushcare as a whole. So we made a login page that allows users to create their own personal account using their email. And we stored the different information in Firebase, which allow us to take out the information wherever we need. And the login page checks for certain parameters to make sure nothing wrong happens and there's no error after the user makes a new account or logs into their account. And for the camera page, we used a Dart in Flutter to capture the image with the camera. And for the image that's captured, we have to first crop the image to the same size, because we have to take into consideration that different devices have different dimensions. And we have to uniform the image, enable for the program to process them. And then the image recognition software
Sorry,
would...
Excuse me, please, some white screen. Oh, okay, now, sorry.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. Yeah, and then the image recognition software would give the image 3 descriptions, which include a short description of the plant species, what species the plant is, and most importantly, whether or not the plant is invasive or not. Right, so the layout of the app. When the user first log in, they're brought into the homepage of the app, where they are free to navigate to all the other parts, which include a calendar page with future Bushcare session and any other special events for the volunteering organization is placed. A profile page where users are able to customize their profile, where they could set up for the app to send them notification to remind them when they would have to attend a volunteering session. So we decided to implement different functionalities apart from our main function to try to appeal the app to younger volunteers, so we could hopefully try to make more of them stay in Bushcare after joining. So some of so further development, there's still some work that we need to do on the app in the future, as we weren't able to put them in right now because of time constraints. We would like to add more description to each of the plant species, which would include more effective ways to remove the harmful plants. So for example, whether or not the root of the plant needs to be removed to prevent it from growing back, or whether or not the seeds need to be bagged separately. And also we need to do some further work on the algorithm itself to improve its accuracy, so it'll be more helpful for the volunteers. And we also need to implement a new function to allow the users to report any error that the plant recognition software makes, to allow them to actively help to improve the software, and hopefully allow us to create a larger database to train the algorithm with. Yeah, okay, thank you.